Welcome to the Raw and Wild Hearts, a place where the raw, the unfiltered, the wild hearts gather to celebrate triumphs and hardships, learn from each other, grow together, and break down a culture rooted in fear. We will talk, we will laugh, and we will lean on each other about everyday life experiences that we could all use a little support through, and then we'll bask in the wild, magical beings that we are. My philosophy is that by embracing the dark, we may just let in the light. I am your host, Lori Reising, healer, educator, writer, adventurer, retreat leader, birth defender, and animal enthusiast and activist. Along with my wild heart sidekick kitty, Jesus the Brave, we'd like to invite you to get excited about the Wild Heart Revolution. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raw and Wild Hearts podcast. I am your host and guide, Lori Reising, and welcome to today's episode called March Astrology is About to Pop Off Part 2. That just reminded me of Mars being in Gemini for so long. Hey, hey, hello, hello. Yes, yes. Heck, maybe that's why I did 2 parts to this share. But of course, there's so much to share. There are so many energies, and wow, the planet is shifting at exponential rates. Some of you may know that I'm just now returning from 2 months away as I went to Mexico and Arizona and spent some beautiful time with that land and with some divine souls, absolutely accelerating and evolving our cells and DNA. It has been profound, exquisite. I just keep getting the feeling of, I get visions rather than words, but I get the feeling of paradise, right? Because it has been so beautiful to move through the wounds, the transformations, the enlightenments in such a beautiful, sacred way, in community with the collective, in beautiful, wide open spaces of vulnerability. I'm still deeply integrating, and it honestly feels like those specific unfoldings in these sacred circles is real life. And it's like, I'm now back in what's a life that was created for us. So I am definitely more determined than ever to normalize those spaces and that caliber of vulnerability in daily living. And if you haven't been to one of my retreats yet, get your butt there. You are going to be spirit blown. It's going to crack your life wide open in the best of ways, which is actually how we're designed to live in more ease and joy and our birthright of thriving in this experience. So yeah, I am a hardcore advocate of continuing to elevate your community all around you to be in the frequency that you feel safe, you feel trust, and your nervous system feels supported. This is definitely the year of Lori going full on external, unencumbered, and what just keeps coming to me is like feral in the best of ways, right? That's why my name is the Raw and Wild Hearts, because in those states, we find the truth of who we are beyond the conditioning and beyond the BS programming that is not ours and never has been ours. Yeah, it's gonna be big. Okay, let's get back to this episode. First of all, if you are new to the podcast, heyo, welcome. We are so stoked you found us. This community is strong and ready. Do make sure to go back in my full library of episodes because there is so much richness and goodness in what has been thrown down on these airwaves. You know, in the most recent retreat, which was the Awakening Astrology retreat with Molly McCord in Sedona, Arizona, on that ley line, the power that was summoned is still reverberating through my soul. More on that to come in this episode, but just a few key episodes that I directed people toward for a higher consciousness unfolding, for an ease in the embodied ascension process, and for the knowledge of how majestic you are and how much limitless potential you have include, but are not limited to, Yeah But is officially canceled, also Unplug in Power, and finally, You Do Not Need Plant Medicine. Those 3 episodes are relatively recent. They're in this season 4, so you don't have to go back too far. But y'all, I have had absolutely incredible guests. I have just been so blessed with the energy and frequency that magnetizes to this Wild Heart Revolution. I know that you will be stoked that you went back and spent some time in that library. And if you'd like to know more about how to work with me one-on-one, either in person or online, definitely head on over to my hub, therawandwildhearts.com. Okay, y'all, let's get to it. So last episode, part 1, was all about Mars leaving its retrograde shadow on March 15th, as well as Saturn in Pisces. So we are still on our way towards March 15th, but we have officially moved into Saturn in Pisces. So naturally, I'm going to talk a little bit about those energies now, because as an embodiment guide, I really drop into the energies as they're happening. And that's where I get a lot of the channeled messages and the knowledge of what's happening as a result of that planetary and energy shift. And I've got to say, it's feeling damn good. So at first, when Saturn made its move into Pisces on March 7th, 2023, there definitely was a squeeze. I noticed a theme amongst the peoples that had a flavor of a little bit of depression and blockage, right? It was almost like dam that was building. And the way to release the dam is exactly what I want to talk about today, which is to walk your talk. Human evolution and ascension is happening at such a velocity when you're tapped in, available, and doing the work that honestly, we don't even have time to intellectualize it anymore, which is fantastic because that's literally the embodied ascension that we're going through. It is through our cells, through the plasmic light within our bodies, that we integrate more that's coming onto the planet. And then as our cells continue to become more crystalline and less dense, our magnetic fields are growing as the Earth's magnetic field is shifting. We are in a full-on co-creative experience with all that is, all consciousness, all energy, all life force. And y'all, as we continue to get out of our own way, the potentials and magnetization or manifestation, however you prefer to feel into it. I prefer magnetization because when we drop down into the reality of it, that it is our magnetic field and our frequency that is vibrating with and drawing in more of the same. When we think about it as manifestation, it can just feel less grounded and maybe even unattainable if we don't understand the mechanics of how it's happening, like literally the physiology of what's going down in order to create more of that magnetization. And then that can actually influence our belief system in our unbelievable abilities. So yeah, where I'm going with this is that Saturn in Pisces is offering the supreme opportunity to walk the talk, get the results, lather, rinse, repeat. I mean, just today, I was looking out the window and I was thinking of something that I have misplaced. I haven't lost it. I've misplaced it, or I don't remember where I placed it. And the location appeared. And there was no coincidence about that. I get to live in this reality of co-creation with source energy and great spirit because I believe, I practice, and I embody. Now, just recently after my one-on-one, very intimate, very advanced retreat experience in Mexico, there, of course, has been a big integration period back into our physical realities, coming back to our acupuncture point of the world, creating new ley lines from our activation. Yes, I said it. The ley lines are shifting. We are becoming the sacred sites. And in a sense, networking our light into those rivers of light that have been waiting for us to plug in. So the way that I see it is like we are all these streams, and as we come together in these sacred communities and circles and do the vulnerable work, really open the floodgates for ultimate transformation and transmutation, our streams plug into the bigger network, they get fortified, they get confirmed, they get strengthened, and we keep flowing. So this really is the walk your talk. Yeah, so I was chatting about someone who had come back from the intimate retreat experience, which was in another dimension, period, because we can and should go there. It's also about normalizing that experience, our power, our potential, our galactic heritage. And it's been maybe about 6 weeks since we have returned from that dimension. I asked her how her integration has been going. And she said, I got to be honest with you, it's been pretty hard. And I said, what's happening? And then she gave me a little bit of her reality and what's been happening since our time together. And we were talking about how she had a major healing journey, download, and physical manifestation through one of my star channels where she got the message. They shared exactly what she needed to hear. And then when she came back to her life, she went back into patterns that were normalized, and there can be many reasons, even cellular memory, that really pulls us back into what we have been doing, even if it's uncomfortable. But this is where we're going now with Saturn and Pisces, which is what's the empowered action? What's the inspired action? What's the physical manifestation of the message you received in full trust? Now, I want you to really feel into that part. We have been so programmed and conditioned not to trust what's coming next or what's unknown that we have stayed in sacrifice. Even with all of the messages from our body consciousness, from the stress, from the intuitive hits. And this is the energy that is coming in hot from Saturn and Pisces. Saturn's going to keep squeezing, and you're going to feel that discomfort until you do the damn thing. Make the change and trust the reward that's coming as a result. Yeah, Saturn actually wants to reward us for our efforts, for our hard work, for tying up the loose ends, for shoring that shit up. I have something that I've been working on in my own life that has really come to the surface for full revelation in these moments. And this is go time. And I absolutely know it without a doubt. I've known it the whole time, but I also allowed the doubt to stay. So you've got until May of 2025, but I highly recommend getting down with it right now because life is going off. I am feeling, seeing, sensing, witnessing miraculous unfoldings everywhere. Everywhere. And I gotta say, the retreat game is on point. Y'all, so many people are offering these journeys and this kind of medicine that if your cells are craving it, make it happen. Know that when you make the investment in your soul care with your money, with your time, with your attention and belief and curiosity, it will reward you immediately. But you've got to be the catalyst. Go in with a full yes and come out with a new map to your evolution, which also becomes your community's elevation. Yeah, we're going to get into Pluto and Aquarius, speaking of the collective. There is a message that I want to share as we are moving so quickly and quantumly into deep changes and shifts in our lives. Be available for new paths and momentum in these energies. What's coming up can show up as a very different root or healing or core wound or transformation than what your mind had expected, right? So as we're going along, because we have been so heavily focused in our mind and what we're doing next and how that's supposed to look, we can be really focused on one area of our life and kind of compartmentalize in those energies and feel like whatever's going to come through, break through for the break free in these all planets direct momentum that we're absolutely in right now. And it's quite possible that it's going to be something that you maybe have buried down or you believe you've moved past or you've dismissed in your life that comes up to the surface for a revelation and a revolution in your life that's actually going to create more ease in whatever it is that you've been holding for your manifestation or magnetization in your life, right? For example, maybe you're really focused in on your new earth business, right? Your innate medicine that you're growing and sharing in new ways in the world. And how do I create more income through this? How do I open the money flows? How do I reach more people, right? All of the things that go along with entrepreneurship. But really what comes through in these energies and these shifts is something in your relationships, something that you've closed your heart off to in partnership, in connection, in friendship, whatever it is, something big comes up in those areas, even though you've been moving the momentum in another way you thought. And in reality, source energy has been conspiring to open your heart up in a new way and is now beginning to send you messages, events, experiences that ask for your pivot and full attention to truly get to the root, to clear this out, clear it up so that you're available for more clarity, collaborations, deeper love, more vulnerability, whatever it is. So just pay attention to what's coming through. Okay. March is just popping off. Like I said, we've got the spring equinox, the astrological new year happening on March 21st. And I think it's just a few hours later that we have the Aries new moon. This is big. We've got a lot of energies in Aries, and I'm going to save the Aries new moon for my bonus YouTube video where I share new and full moon videos only on that channel. So definitely come on over and hang out. But the equinox is just so brimming with potential with all planets direct momentum. We've got Mars moving into Cancer on March 25th. Mars has already left his retrograde shadow on March 15th. And I also wanted to just share the power of Venus conjunct Jupiter on March 2nd, then Chiron conjuncts Jupiter on March 11th, which is today. Yeah, it's been an interesting one for sure. And then Venus conjuncts the North Node on March 20th. So we've got a lot of energies here dancing around with destiny, with love, how we give and receive love, right? Venus, like, where do you come home to? That's your self-love. And the more you radically and relentlessly love yourself, the more every part of your world elevates and the more our actual humanity changes. You cannot be manipulated when you have a very strong center and balance and sense of yourself. And I want to mention the Chiron and Jupiter conjunction today because this only happens every 12 years. This is in Aries. And when I really dropped in, I began to feel the joy of the work you've been doing, of the transformation, right? Like, as humans, we're always going to be working with contrast, duality, shadow, and even the generational trauma and the epigenetics that we go through. It's going to get more and more easeful, right? As we continue to drop into our innate healing and mastery, our ability to work with light frequency and our sensory navigation system, especially the more we stop giving our belief and power over to the limitations of this linear language and learned fear and reliance on history. But it felt like it was a perfect day to flow with a new liberation and clarity. The energy I kept getting was like, let your freak flag fly. Say that fast 3 times. And when I say freak, like your most beautiful, authentic, unique self, right? It just was this supreme invitation into your full empowerment with zero hesitation. Yeah, so it was like a debut. The Chiron and Jupiter conjunction felt like a debut in the new you that has been coming through the cracks, but it's like the wall came down. So feel into this. Did you have these moments where your body was asking you to do something different? Like make some kind of statement in the full Phoenix rising? I definitely did. I was supposed to be recording this podcast and I just kept getting pulled. I didn't have the momentum or the focus for the podcast. And finally, I ended up in beautiful snow, rebirth on my land and bare feet and in a full photo shoot. This was not on the agenda. It wasn't on the timetable of what needed to happen today. And guess what? It was perfect. And I know the deep purpose that it served and how it's going to be elevating the clarity in where I go from here. So here's your invitation right now. If you ignored, bypassed, or suppressed the call to step even deeper into your Phoenix, get on up and make it happen. Because, friend, it's those pivots that are taking us spiral. Are you ready to explore a new path into your soul's growth, transformation, and full embodied alignment that may just serve as a catalyst to deep places of joy and ease and thriving in this human experience by moving through core wound transformation, shadow work, lineage karma, and more with a circle of sacred humans that are committed to the same collective and personal evolution and frequency as you? Are you curious about how to work with the planetary shifts, the cosmic weather, and nature through empowered knowledge and ease? Are you tired of traditional talk therapy where it feels like you're stuck in a linear loop? Are you ready to break through, to break free? Then it is time to check out the Wild Heart One's monthly membership. With 2 live calls a month, bonus workshops, and bonus meditations, you will have a new practice of alignment accountability that is ready to co-create with you in the highest ways through embodied ascension. This is where we do the evolutionary work of integration of our light body and soul with our physical experience to ultimately create the limitless reality that we came here to live. This experience is intentionally kept very affordable, and also know that when you get wildly intentional with your time, money, energy, and commitment, life doesn't happen to you or for you. It happens from you. When you're ready, check out the link in the show notes below for more details. Join anytime, and after 1 month, cancel anytime as well. This space has been cultivated and created for your ease and your empowered yes. Okay, so Pluto in Aquarius, Mars in Cancer. Mars in Cancer is going to be happening March 25th. Yes, we are so ready. Mars in Gemini has done its job. And that's exactly the energy that I'm sharing here is you have a new soul's language. You have deeply excavated what was not yours, what has been running, or I want to say humming in the background for too long. It's been distracting and disconnecting. And Mars in Cancer, first of all, is just going to give us a new energy. Of course, Cancer is all about our home. It's about our sacred space. It's our emotional body, but also it's our ancestry. I am feeling, am I feeling the ancestors? Wow. I had an incredible experience in Sedona the day after our retreat wrapped up, and the ancestors just poured in and shared strength as the veil just continues to thin more and more, right? The magnetic field is shifting. It's going offline. The solar flares are coming in stronger, and the solar storms are happening much more often. The ancestors are just like ready and waiting, right? So your ancestry has unlocked knowledge, wisdom, codes to share with you. So as Mars goes into Cancer, the deeper you go into the form, right? The practice of connecting with your ancestry in whatever way resonates with you, right? Like, don't believe that you have to connect in the same way that somebody else does, but definitely trust that the more you take the action, the more you create the intentional practice in curiosity, the deeper and stronger the connections get revealed in exactly your language, in your experience, in how you are available to see them. But I'm just going to reiterate, we do not know what we have not experienced. So being available in all new ways will create the deepest spaces of expansion. So this transit is really going to ask you to be very deliberate in your emotional health, your emotional body, your emotional response. Be deliberate in your ancestral reverence and connections. And it may even have you in new creation energy around your home space or your sacred space. What that means to you, and maybe even that means that it's time for a full makeover, overhaul, even new space or location. So these are all energies to just start being aware of as we move into Mars in Cancer on March 25th. And remember, that is where we are still all planets direct. And that is where I believe we are going to be having the most momentum, right? As Mars moves out of its retrograde shadow on March 15th, we move into the spring equinox, and that is all lights go. So you're really setting some things up right now. It's a great time to be wildly present in your intentions, in your seeds of creation, in what's beginning to grow, right? As we move through Imbolc, that's where we really start to plant these seeds of new life in new earth, and they're already starting to grow. So what is working, and what do we want to keep nurturing and nourishing, and what really isn't working? What have we been a little lax about? Not paying attention to the body consciousness, letting our nervous system be a bit dysregulated. And all this Aries energy is going to give you plenty of oomph to make what needs to happen happen. So definitely pay attention. Okay. Finally, here we are, Pluto in Aquarius. Just a couple of days after the spring equinox and Aries new moon, Pluto moves into Aquarius. Yes. This is Pluto's first move out of Capricorn in 16 years. Wow. Yeah, it's a big deal. Actually, there's a lot of these outer planets changing sign in the vicinity of this time. That's a big deal. Saturn moving It happens about every 2.5 years. Pluto moving can happen every 10 to 20 years. I've even seen 30 years, but I haven't confirmed the 30 years, so don't quote me on that one. And Neptune is going to be moving out of Pisces into Taurus in April of 2025. Neptune has an orbit of 164 years, and it stays in a sign for like 14 years. And then Uranus is going to be moving out of Taurus into Gemini in July of 2025. And Uranus has an orbit of 84 years, and it stays in a sign for 7 years. So these are really big pivotal shifts. These planets definitely affect the collective on a pretty big level, and that's where we're going to keep seeing so much evolution over these next few years, and we definitely just keep accelerating with time. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to be there for 20 years, from 2024 to 2044. Its final pass, going back and forth from Capricorn to 0 degrees of Aquarius, is going to be in 2025. Pluto has a 248-year orbit cycle. So, okay, Pluto is all about death and rebirth. I mean, this has been our theme, right? Ever since the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January of 2020. As Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's really going from our structures and systems, which are definitely being dismantled. And P.S., it goes a lot quicker the less we give them our power, belief, and attention. It was also about the power over structure, the top down, the imbalance in power. And Aquarius is all about the people. It's about community, the collective. It's about independence, liberation, our agency and sovereignty. It's innovation and technology. It's decentralization. And I mean, come on, we've got the Age of Aquarius support on our side as well. So this can definitely be where we might see a little bit more of societal upheaval for those people that it is their innate medicine to buck the system and expose the system for the lies that they've been running on, the manipulation that has kept a very small percentage of the population in power and wealth. I mean, we're even going to start to see how science has been manipulated, how information has been manipulated. I mean, isn't it amazing that by keeping us traumatized, surviving, and disconnected from our soul, our truth, our power, and by creating unwellness and unwholeness in our health, it has essentially kept us reliant on these systems, and it has kept the machine turning. Well, my friends, that machine is about to break. Yes, Pluto in Aquarius is also all about the surprise changes, quick shifts, and full-on enlightenments. Not only that, but the Age of Pisces really had us in this place of illusion, giving our power away. And that power is not only coming back online, it is mass tidal waves in the actual truth, which is within us all. Just like God, Source, Great Spirit is within us all. Just like consciousness is everywhere in different form. So going through not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 major turning points in these outer planets over the next 2 years. Bring it on. We are here for it. Y'all, this is why we have been doing the hard ass work, the core wound transformation, the excavation, the exploration of what has been normalized for generations in states of trauma, depression, and disconnection. We have been doing this in full-on intensity. Neural patterns run deep, epigenetics run deep, disassociation runs deep, and we have been coming back time and again, picking ourselves up, being guided by the knowledge that on the other side of the dismantling in the scarcity, lack, comparison, competition, sacrificial programming is the creator energy and multidimensional living we came here to experience. First of all, I just want to say how dang proud I am of us because, my friends, the tables are turning. The ripple effect is building. The earth is opening. The veil is thinning. Oh, I am giddy. I feel the confirmation energy in a way that hasn't been there before. Like if you look at doubt versus confirmation, confirmation is gaining momentum and getting so much bigger than the doubt that had been running our programming and pulling us back into those neural patterns and habits and reactions. And y'all, when we get those results, when we feel good, when we get the downloads, the knowledge, the hits, the intuitive guidance, and we trust that, we want to do the work. We crave doing the work. And I know I've been harping on this about retreat spaces and experience, but the more we actually normalize going into these beautiful sacred communities and groups and circles and unleashing this power of crystalline light into the earth, the energy, the environment, the grid, the more everyone begins to tap in. Whatever the dominant narrative is in the frequency and energy around us is easily tapped into by the collective. So let's keep going. Pluto in Aquarius is going to bring these really pivotal shifts. We've got to be ready and available in spiral dimensions and all time and space. Over the next 20 years, power is going to be shifting back to the people. It's going to be amplified in our local community, in our sacred groups and connections, in our intentional daily practice, and in our belief system in what is absolutely possible. And that comes from ourselves. I cannot emphasize this enough. We have to stop figuring everything out. We have to stop knowing everything for every detail. We have to stop just learning. We have to reawaken the truth through our full, vibrant experiences, through tears of joy and tears of grief, through sadness, through laughter, through dance, movement, through vulnerability. Y'all, vulnerability is the key that unlocks it all. I promise you, I have been working for lifetimes in these spaces of raw and wild vulnerability, and especially in my last 2 group experiences over the last couple of months, I witnessed people's words and I witnessed people's hearts opening. And it is in the heart opening that they would come alive. When they were using their words and defending their words, I felt a tension and a tightness, and that is where we shut down in defense. So I also believe that Pluto in Aquarius is going to be dropping us much deeper into the feeling of frequency. I keep talking about how we are moving into healing through light, energy, and frequency. And I have absolutely been a part of that these last couple of months. It has been quantum and evolutionary because there's no going back. When you get a taste through your senses of living from your aligned empowerment and inspired action through a full-on love frequency, this is why we keep coming back to do the work for the generations before us, for what is not ours and has never been ours, for the conditioning and programming that we have endured from the moment we took this body. Y'all, we are so ready for Pluto and Aquarius. Those of us that have been getting together, gathering, doing the work, we have been practicing the quick pivots and inspired momentum. We've been honoring our soul, our rest, and receptivity. We have been calibrating our nervous system for not only our personal evolution, but now the collective evolution in New Earth rebirth, systems, love, benevolence, abundance, and light. This is going to bring the highest form of technology. We have been vibrating at a very low frequency with the technology and how we've been using it. It's like we create something, and what do you do with it? Do you move into a consciousness with it, or do you move into an unconsciousness with it? We have definitely been supporting that unconscious vibe, whether it's just doing it because everybody else is doing it, ignoring and bypassing what's really the root of the technology that we're using. So Pluto is about grow. It's like grow or die, right? And it's really about the rebirth of something, but we have to have the death of whatever's already in place to have the rebirth of what's coming. And so it just kind of feels like there's going to be this mass exit as our cells continue to relentlessly tell us what doesn't feel good, right? The more we follow the feeling of our body consciousness, the more we are going to put our attention and belief into what is running and working for the betterment of this culture, for the good of humanity. And that's the thing. For so long, we have been taught to normalize bypassing the root of anything, that we just used the result or engaged in the result by disconnecting or disassociating from the root. We are so deeply, I just got this vision of like a plant in the earth, right? We are so deeply going to the core of the earth, ourselves, this culture, and the universe, that we don't want to deny it anymore. We want to feel the glory of goodness, of high frequency in everything that we do. I feel this it's rolling out. It feels like a snowball that's gaining more and more momentum that can come into a beautiful avalanche, right? An avalanche that transforms the face of what wasn't working. Pluto in Aquarius is absolutely taking us there. So I do feel like people are going to really be shifting the way that they share their message. And I invite you, for anyone that you are resonating with, that's out here with their innate medicine in soul transformation, soul growth, spiritual amplification, love frequency, get on their email list. That is the very best way to stay in touch with everyone. I mean, there's lots of platforms coming up that aren't censored, that are encrypted, and they're really developed by the people and for the people, right? This is the shift in power. And when we really start moving our attention that way, that's going to be more of that decentralization from love. And that's something really important to remember and feel into. Nothing in this construct of reality works without the power of the people. And the more we move away from I'm right, you're wrong, or the forceful application of shifts, by realizing the deepest source of power is our attention, our belief, our energy, with where we want to go collectively. Ooh, yes. That is where we go quantum. And that is absolutely Uranus and Aquarius energy. Aquarius is the sign of astrology and galactic energy. And the more that we live with the astrological weather, the cosmic co-creative support, our nature, seasons, and moonlight, y'all, that's the goods. That's how we came in to thrive. We have just been pushing ourselves away from ourselves for far too long. Yeah, so I feel like this is a great place to wrap this episode up. But let me just tell you, I have a couple of super fun interviews coming up. One of them with an astrologer. I actually have a big a big opening in the universe that has happened with him. And that's going to be a podcast coming up. So watch for that. Also, y'all, I am now back settling in with my land, in my home, and I am committing right now to the intention of getting a weekly podcast out. For the first time in 4 seasons, I feel like this may be time. Would you like that? Are you into it? Because I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten any reviews lately, and I just want to know that you're out there, that you're listening and vibing with what I'm sharing, as well as feeling deep support from the messages and the guidance that I receive. So if you have a minute, I would love it if you would go to the homepage on Apple Podcasts of the Raw and Wild Hearts, scroll down to the bottom. It only takes, like I said, a minute. Hit those pretty little 5 stars and then click write a review. And it's just like a text message, 1 or 2 sentences. And I would love to share your share on the next episode. So I will be looking out for any new reviews and confirmation that I should, in fact, put the time, intention, and energy into a weekly podcast. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for joining this Wild Heart Revolution with me, for doing the deep ass work that you've been doing, and for sharing your very special innate medicine that only you came here to do. So if this episode has deeply supported you in any way, take a screenshot and tag me on IG. I'd love to hear about it. Share it with a friend or with 100 friends. And until next time, y'all, don't forget to keep looking up. And with that, let's normalize the struggles, celebrate the quirks, and lean into the light. From myself and Beezus the Brave, happy Wild Heart Revolution, friends.